The camera landscape is incredibly competitive, which is a great thing for your church because it means more manufacturers are putting more amazing features in more camera bodies for less cost. To that end, here are the categories for Best Church Camera 2024 that I'll be announcing the winners for in this video. We've got Best Overall Mirrorless Camera, Best Mirrorless Camera Money Can Buy, Best Micro Four Thirds Mirrorless Camera, Best Overall PTZ Camera, Best PTZ Camera Money Can Buy, Best Overall Camcorder, and Best Camcorder Money Can Buy. And just listen, when I first began working in church 15 years ago and had a Canon Rebel T3i put in my hands, I thought I was in heaven. But the specs and image quality coming out of that camera are just flat out embarrassing relative to what is available today at a similar price point. Now, as for this year's best of list, we have an emphasis on live streaming capabilities as always, but I'm a big fan of an all-around camera. You know, one that can also shoot photos and capture cinematic video is of course a plus. And to help me with this year's crop of contenders, I've enlisted the advice and expertise of someone that I've trusted for many years in this space, Joel W. Smith. Joel's been in live production for close to 25 years, a camera operator for broadcast television networks, including ABC, Fox Sports, and Speed. He's spent thousands of hours with countless different cameras doing corporate events, concerts, sports, theater, classroom work, and of course, churches. Most importantly for you though, he's spent the last decade running an amazing website, joelwsmith.com, where he lists out all of his picks for camera and production gear. So I've taken a ton of his input to inject into this video, so you're getting his history and expertise along with my own to give you the best recommendations. Let's dive in. Category number 1, the best overall mirrorless camera, the Panasonic S5. And it should come as no surprise perhaps that Panasonic is featured this early and prominently in the list because Panasonic has long been the king of value amongst camera manufacturers. You know, I'll never forget my first Panasonic, a GH2 back in the early 2010s, a camera that was famous for a hack that you could download online to unlock features in the camera that the manufacturer didn't allow out of the box. Were you there? Do you remember this? You know, we've come so far from having to jailbreak cameras in church offices. One of the hallmarks of a Panasonic camera, though, is that they just work. For example, they never overheat, something that has become a big problem with many cameras these days. As we shove more and more amazing features into these very small camera bodies, the consequences have often been overheating. Not the Panasonics, though. You can be confident this baby will continue to run through, even the most unscripted, seems like it'll never end charismatic church service. It's not just that though. The S5 has an impressive spec list as well, a 24.2 megapixel full frame sensor, more than 12 stops of usable dynamic range, which is incredibly useful in church auditoriums with less than ideal lighting conditions, up to 6.5 stops of image stabilization, internal recording up to 4K at 60 frames per second, 422 10-bit internal recording up to 4K at 30 frames per second, and that 10-bit is huge for accurate colors and fewer nasty compression artifacts. Vlog comes pre-installed, no extra license required. Back in the day, you always had to pay for that. Unlimited video recording in a variety of formats and clean HDMI output, including raw 12-bit. Just wild. What's even more crazy? This camera can commonly be found on sale for under $1,000 USD. So what we get is a full frame camera that rivals the performance of the premium pick coming in this video, and all for less than 30% of that price. So thank you, Panasonic. We salute you. Let's do pros and cons for this camera now. The pros: dynamic range and image quality to rival more expensive flagship cameras, unlimited video recording times in most major formats, and dual SD card slots for redundant recording. As for the cons, the L-mount lens selection is limited compared to more popular mounts. Only one SD card slot supports UHS 2 speeds, and the micro HDMI ports are fragile. For a deep dive, hit pause, and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. For our next category, we've got the best mirrorless camera money can buy, the beloved Sony a7S III. I've got a number of these cameras myself. I don't even use them for live streaming. I use them for cinematic work. The a7S III is just that good in a variety of environments. Full frame sensor, again, 12.4 stops of usable dynamic range, and importantly, 11.9 stops of dynamic range at ISO 16000. And this is why the a7S III and many Sony cameras are so attractive to so many churches. Their low light performance just cannot be beat. And so, if you know your church's lighting in the sanctuary is gonna give your camera trouble, it might very well be worth the extra cost for a premium camera like this one that in many ways seems like it can see in the dark because your stream will end up looking looking so much better. The A7S III also boasts 422 10-bit recording up to 4K at 120 frames per second, 16-bit raw HDMI output up to 4K plus at 60 frames per second, dual CF Express Type A or SDXC memory card slots, S-Cinetone and S-Log formats, plus a full-size HDMI output. Pros and cons for the A7S III by Sony. The pros: overall image quality and dynamic range, of course, a fully articulating monitor and dual card slots supporting both CF Express Type A and UHS-2 SD memory cards. As for the cons, overheating, still a slight concern with the high quality recording formats or warmer environments. This can be avoided by selecting the right format to record in, but it's not as dummy proof as the S5 is. 12 megapixel sensor, also not the best for a lot of photography, and no synchro scan or fine shutter speed options. For a deep dive on this camera, hit pause and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. Oh, and let me pause here. If you're liking this video, hit the like button, please. It really does make a difference for me, and it costs you nothing. Thanks. Moving now to category number 3, the best micro four thirds mirrorless camera, the Panasonic GH6. Just a few of the highlights from this monster of a camera: 25.2 megapixel micro four thirds sensor, 7.5 stops of image stabilization, internal ProRes recording up to 5K-ish at 30 frames per second, 422 10-bit recording up to 4K at 60 frames, high-speed recording up to 1080p at 300 frames per second, unlimited recording in all formats, Vlog pre-installed, full-size HDMI output, plus an internal cooling fan, which means, yes, overheating is of no concern. Of course, you're not getting that full-frame sensor though, right? Which means low-light performance won't be quite as good, but if you're looking for a camera that handles video and photography equally well, incredibly versatile, and is just a workhorse at an affordable price, it's hard to look past the GH6. It also comes from a long line of GH cameras from Panasonic. I already mentioned the GH2 back in the day as a huge camera on the scene. The GH4 was another game changer. I remember that camera fondly. Panasonic has a big legacy here, and the GH6 just adds to it. Let's do pros and cons. The pros: unlimited video recording time, excellent photo and video performance for a micro four thirds camera, internal ProRes, internal active cooling, good lens selection at more reasonable prices compared to APS-C and full frame counterparts, and you can record to a variety of different storage media formats. The cons: micro four thirds cannot perform as well as larger sensors, as we already mentioned, weak autofocus, and different memory card slots, so you can't record to matching memory cards. For a deep dive on this camera, hit pause and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. Category number 4 on our list is the best overall PTZ camera, and our winner here is the Canon CRN300. Basically, what Canon has done here is they've taken the same image quality, lensing, and features of their pro camcorders and put them in a matching PTZ lineup, and they hit it out of the park with this one. The CRN300 has smooth pan and tilt performance, a wide variety of communication protocols, plus built-in auto tracking capability that only requires a one-time and reasonably priced license add-on purchase. It also uses the same sensor as the top overall camcorder that you'll see shortly in this video. Not only do those two cameras share the same sensor, but also the same 20x optical zoom lens, same 3G SDI and HDMI outputs, same output formats, and the same great image quality. And when it comes to image quality and features for the price, the Canon CRN300, it's hard to beat. Pros and cons, starting with the pros: 3G SDI output, 20x optical zoom, good auto tracking built in with no additional hardware or software required, and a perfect match to the top pick camcorder option coming later in this video if you wanted to pair them together in a multi-cam setup. As for the cons, weak low light performance, 4K HDMI output disables the SDI output, and the USB-C webcam does not do full frame rates. As always, for a deep dive on this camera, hit pause and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. Category number 5, best PTZ camera money can buy. It's the Canon CRN700. Top-notch image quality, fast and accurate dual pixel autofocus, 12G SDI and 3G SDI outputs, Genlock and timecode ports, plus auto tracking. Canon also improved the CRN700's internal streaming protocols and quality compared to the camcorder lineup, so this becomes a perfect fit for single camera setups that require a simple turnkey live streaming solution with awesome image quality. If you're looking for the best PTZ solution right out of the box, This is the one. The pros: 12G SDI output plus an additional 3G SDI output, no output format limitations, dual pixel autofocus with eye detection, face priority, and touch AF, live stream via SRT, RTMP, or RTMPS. The cons: 15x optical zoom, may not be enough for some, no full bandwidth NDI support, and no USB ports. For a deep dive on this camera, hit pause, and you'll see the full framing distances and full specs on the screen. To our last two contenders on the list of best church cameras for 2024, we're moving to a new category of camera. We've done mirrorless, we've done PTZ, and now we're looking to camcorders. Bottom line here, camcorder releases are not innovating the way PTZ and especially mirrorless cameras are. Camcorders, they still offer a great solution for many live stream applications at a reasonable price point, but this category of camera is on the decline. When manufacturers start pouring their resources into other categories of camera, that tells you where this market is probably headed. Nevertheless, we've got some good options for you here. First up, the best overall camcorder, it's the Canon XA65. The Canon XA models have long been great options for church live streaming, and the XA65 is no exception. Notable features include a 20x optical zoom, internal recording up to 260p 30 frames or 1080p 60 frames, 3G SDI output, dual XLR audio inputs, dual SD memory card slots, and USB-C webcam output up to 1080p 30 frames. As previously mentioned, this camera also makes for a great match with the aforementioned Canon CRN300 PTZ camera. The pros of this camera: 3G SDI output, 20x optical zoom, USB-C webcam output, and dual SD memory card slots. The cons: weak low light performance plus HDMI and SDI outputs cannot be used simultaneously. For a deep dive on this camera, hit pause and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. And finally, our last camera on the list, category number 7, the best camcorder money can buy, the Canon XF605. And what sets this apart from other camcorders is the top-notch image quality, relative to a camcorder, and 12G SDI output. Other notable features include dual pixel autofocus, internal recording and output up to 2160p 60 frames, 422 10-bit internal recording, Canon Log 3, love that C-Log, custom LUT support, dual SD memory card slots, a plethora of wired and wireless remote control features, internal SRT streaming, and separate Genlock and time code ports. It's probably the most feature-rich camcorder for live production available. That being said, it is limited to 15x optical zoom, which might be a deal breaker for some churches. For pros and cons, the pros: image quality, of course, simultaneous HDMI and 12G SDI output. Clear scan, shutter adjustment helps minimize flicker and banding from lighting and LED walls. As for the cons, that aforementioned 15x optical zoom will be limiting for some, and webcam output is very low quality. For a deep dive on this camera, hit pause and you'll see the framing distances and full specs on the screen. Now, if you want to investigate any of these cameras further, I'll point you to joelwsmith.com. Links are also in the description. Moreover, if you're looking for live stream cameras, you might also be looking for the best switchers, cards, cables, and guess what? Joel has buying guides and best of lists for all of those as well. He's a wealth of information. He gives it all away freely. He keeps it updated year over year. We're very lucky to have him, so check out all of those resources. As for what's next, you may have noticed some glaring omissions in my camera categories for this year. There were no categories specifically dedicated to budget options. That's not to say that none of the cameras in this video make for great budget options like the S5 or the GH6, both from Panasonic, but what if you're looking for even more options or even more affordable options? I wanted to dedicate a separate video specifically to budget camera choices because I know how important that is to so many churches. That video is coming next week, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, and if that video is already live by the time you're watching this one, we're gonna put it on the screen right here so you can click through and start exploring those additional options. Until then, thanks as always for your time, attention, and trust. We'll talk real soon.